Honest to God, it's pitiful how many times I've tried to film this video. What's going on, you guys? My name is Megan. Welcome to This Past Romance. This is my YouTube channel where I talk to you guys about all the romance books I've been reading. Please forgive how I look. I have quite literally tried to film this video 5 times. Something has come up every single time. Let's talk about some books. This is my May wrap up. I've done 2 wrap ups in a row. I'm shocked. Is anybody else shocked? Because I'm quite shocked. Are we going to talk about the books that I said I was going to read in May and I didn't? No, because I don't remember what was on my May TBR. Let's talk about the books that I did read in May. We're going to start with the books that I DNF'd this month. I DNF'd 2 books. I read 12. The 2 that I DNF'd were DNF'd for good reasons. So the first book that I DNF'd is Can You Keep a Secret by Sophie Consilla. This is like the 2nd or 3rd time I've tried to read a Sophie Consilla book. And I've not gotten through one yet. And I'm starting to think that I don't like Sophie Consilla's writing into this book. I believe I was on Facebook the other day, and it was the 10-year anniversary of the Little Sebastian episode of Parks and Recreation. Ben White and Leslie Knope are my favorite TV couple. May and I were talking about Ben and Leslie's relationship and how I love their relationship. I love Ben White. And I decided to Google, are there any romance books based on their relationship, like in a similar vein? And there was some article that I'm not going to link below because it lied, that said that this book was like Ben and Leslie. It was not. So in Can You Keep a Secret, Emma is part of this like soft drink company. She works for like, I think, the marketing team, and she's trying to get this promotion. So she has flown to Scotland to pitch this thing to someone in Scotland, and it didn't work out. She ends up in first class beside this guy. The plane almost crashes, and she ends up spilling all of her secrets to her seatmate. The seatmate ends up being Jack, the CEO of the company that she works for. And he, honest to God, Jack makes an effort. And for once, it was almost like a star-crossed lover situation. Emma had a boyfriend that she wasn't sure that she loved, and it was this big thing, and she ends up moving in with him, and Jack kind of convinces her, like, hey, like, based on what you said to me on the plane, like, you're not in love with this person. So he ends up asking her on a date and like taking all the secrets she told him and like trying to make her perfect date, and like ordering her food for her and all this stuff. And once it's happening, she's like, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like it. If I don't say that when I say she didn't like it or I don't like it, I'm afraid Tamika's gonna come for me. So she didn't like it, and he was like, I'm just trying to do what you told me you wanted. Like, I really want this. And she was like, I don't know what I want, which is fine. You're not supposed to. You don't have to. You do not have to know. You can want something and that can change. I DNF'd it 60% and I can't tell you how this book ends. I have no clue. I have no freaking clue. And I was just like, all right, whatever. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. DNF'd it. It wasn't bad by any means. It just wasn't what I was looking for and what I had been led to believe that it would be. Other than it being a workplace romance and him being, I guess, Jack technically being Emma's boss, I really don't see a whole lot of Ben and Leslie similarities. The second book I DNF'd is one that I really hope I can hold it together to talk about. This book is A Kiss Like This by Sarah Nay. This is a hockey romance that I listened to about 30 minutes of. And in the first 15 minutes, it managed to make me visibly angry. And it takes a lot to make me super mad. A lot to make me like super mad. The heroine, like, her cousin got like voted frat president or something, and her parents were like, you have to go to this thing, you have to go support him. Like, we can't go, so you have to go. So she goes to this thing, and she's talking to her cousin, and she's like, I need to go home, but I'm, you know, kind of drunk. Can you help me get home? And he's like, I'm worse off than you. Why don't you just sleep here? You can sleep in my room. So she sleeps in his room, and the next morning she hears, I think he slept in the floor or something. I don't remember. Anyway, they're in the room together, and obviously nothing happened. It's her cousin. But she hears the fraternity brothers outside the door being like, oh my God, so-and-so slept with this girl, and she's doing the walk of shame. So the heroine shimmies down the drain pipe outside his room. The next door neighbor is like the star hockey player or something. I didn't even make it that far. I just know he plays hockey. And he was very judgmental of everything. He was judging her when she came down the drain pipe. No, we don't judge people for stuff like that. You don't know the situation. He was judging the frat house because it was run down. And he had fixed up the house that him and his hockey player friends were living in. So, the hero was way too judgmental for me. So, he helps her out, helps her get down the drain pipe, and she's telling him, like, I had to sleep in my cousin's room last night, and he goes, that's some backwoods Appalachia shit. Listen to me. Listen to me good. If you want to set me off, say something bad about Appalachia. It's one of those things, I can crack jokes all I want. If you're not from there, don't even start. Don't even start. It's not funny. It's not funny. Appalachia jokes are not funny to me. And I laugh at everything. If you're not from there, you can't make the joke. Okay? Okay. Is that set for everyone? Leave it be. I saw red. I was so angry. I texted Tamika, and again, this is like 15 minutes into this book. Maybe 20, probably not even that long. And I said, this is what they just said. I want to DNF it now. But I didn't. I was giving it a chance. So, old girl goes home to her apartment where her two friends are. And they are both just, they're just better than you types. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like, so our heroine was a virgin. And I have no issues with virgin heroines. I know some people do. I don't judge. Like, it's not my place. It is not my place to judge what you choose to do with your life. It is nobody's business but yours and your partner's. It is not my business. It is nobody else's business. You and your partner. There are two people that need to be involved in that conversation. Right? Logic. She was very, I'm not like other girls because I'm a virgin. No, that's not okay. That was not okay with me. Again, I have no issues with a virginal heroine, typically. But for whatever reason, this book, I couldn't do it. I couldn't take the Appalachia slander. I couldn't take the I'm not like other girls, I'm a virgin. I couldn't handle it. And maybe, I mean, I'm never going to read it again. I will not give this another choice. This will never get another chance for me. I'm usually pretty open to giving books another chance. This one doesn't get one. I don't care if you come and tell me it's the next great American novel. It's done. I'm done. This book is blacklisted. I'm done with it. So, let's talk about books that don't make me mad. Do you want to? Let's do that, because we're ranting. The books that I actually finished in May, there were 12, like I said. The first book that I finished is My Best Friend's Ex by Megan Quinn. We all know, if you've been around this channel for a little while, I love Megan Quinn's writing. I think she's great. Megan Quinn is also part of the LGBTQ+ community, which I think is really cool. Because the way she writes heterosexual relationships, it just wasn't what I expected. And when I found that out, I was like, oh my gosh, like it just, I don't know. Females write males better. Anyway, but I really, like, I enjoy her writing. And I had never looked into her background. And I was trying to figure out, like, the order of a series or something. And I found that information out. And I thought that was really something that should be shared. So, I mean, she's not private about it. It's not like I found it and, like, am outing her on the internet. So, My Best Friend's Ex follows Emma and Tucker. And Tucker is the cutest. Oh my god. So Emma's landlord quits paying the mortgage on the house that she rents with her best friend, and she has to find somewhere to live. Her best friend ends up finding somewhere. Her male best friend is like, you can come live with me and the guys. And she's like, you live in a 2-bedroom apartment with 7 men. I'm not doing that. No, I will live in a box. Thank you. So she bumps into Tucker at a bar, and like he was staring at her, and her friends are like, that guy is looking at you. And she was like, oh my god, no, I know him. And she goes over and she's talking to him or whatever, and he comes over and meets her friends, and they're like, yeah, she's looking for a place to live, and da 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 da. And he's like, oh my god, well, I have an extra bedroom, like you can come live with me. I bought this house. So she does. They set a few ground rules, None of them are like feelings related, which I was like, that rule would have been broken anyway. But trigger warning in this book, there is a miscarriage. It's not like on page. Tucker's ex-girlfriend, who is best friends with Emma from their hometown, she had gotten pregnant by Tucker. Tucker bought a house, built a nursery. They had a fight, and then she ended up miscarrying the baby. This book really follows Tucker learning how to deal with the miscarriage and how to handle it. This book was really, really sweet. The best friend was like, go for it. He is a fantastic dude. And like, it wasn't a toxic relationship for either of them, like for the best friend or for Tucker. It just didn't work. It was one of those, this just isn't going to work. Like, there are no hard feelings or anything like that outside of the miscarriage. There are no hard feelings, but you guys would be great together. It's not like I'm still pining after him. Like, go for it. The best friend was, I think she was getting married. This book was I think I gave it a 4, maybe a 4.5. It was really sweet. I loved it. Megan Quinn, I love her writing. I think she's great. Then, I'm pretty sure I read them in this order. We had The Initiation by Nikki Sloane. Don't ask Tamika for book recommendations sometimes. Just, I need to learn that piece of information. Just, it's not. Sometimes it just doesn't work out for you. And I don't know what happened when I listened to this book. I don't know if like work was just extra busy that day or my brain just like shut off. I don't know what happened. But this book, I missed something because Tamika ended up having to tell me who I was supposed to want her to be with. I was like, what are you talking about? I don't even remember him being a character. And she's like, big character in the book, Megan. I was like, oh, okay. I had my people confused. I don't know. This book follows Marist. Her sister is supposed to marry into the Hale family. I believe she's supposed to marry Royce. I don't think that's the dad. I'm pretty sure that's the son. And her sister ends up getting pregnant. And the Hales are like, we're not doing this. This isn't happening. And Marist's parents has like run through all of their money, so they're broke. And the Hales are going to help cushion them and like, you know, we'll give you like $6 million or something, but one of your daughters has to marry my son. So Marist ends up being the one that has to marry him. And then there's the ritual before she can marry him. If you've read this book, you know the ritual. If you haven't read this book, I'm not going to tell you what the ritual is, but I wish to God someone had told me, because I was not prepared. Like, I was typing and the ritual started and I went, what? It was a thing. It was a thing. So, I need this sticky note for this next book. I gave The Initiation, I think, a 3.5. I mean, it was a good book. I didn't dislike it. It didn't blow my socks off. So, probably a 3. Honestly, I'm not going to continue the series unless I, like, read it. If I can marathon the books versus listening to the audiobook, maybe that would go better, but I don't have the time to do that right now. But The Initiation by Nikki Sloane. I also didn't care for the ending. It's just me. Let's talk about the physical book I read this month. This is Tommyland by Tommy Lee. It's no secret now. Sebastian Stan is playing Tommy Lee in the Hulu miniseries Pam and Tommy. And I always wanted to see Bucky Barnes covered in tattoos because I love a tattooed man. Don't get me wrong. I didn't mean a skinny Bucky Barnes. Like, I'm thinking like Winter Soldier Civil War Bucky, not maybe you should like eat something. You look like you need some food, Bucky. But it doesn't matter. Trigger warnings for this book. That's why I had to get this sticky note. There is an R slur. I don't use that word. I don't like that word. I don't even know if it's really a slur, but it's a word that I hate. I absolutely hate that word. There's an N slur. It's edited, so like you're not reading the N word, but you know what it means. There is the white version of the N-word. Again, I don't say any of these words, and that, I don't know even if that is a bad word or like a not okay to say word. I don't know if it's a slur. But just in case, I'm covering my bases. There's also domestic violence, jail time, drugs, alcohol, and cheating. Please remember Tommy Lee was 17 when he became a rock star. He was young, it's not an excuse, but he wasn't a legal adult, and he made some mistakes. Tommy Lee is not a good dude, and I'm not here to praise him. Again, I read this because I knew Sebastian Stan was playing Tommy Lee. Because it wasn't a secret. Everyone was so surprised. It's been on his IMDb for like 6 months. Does nobody else look at those? Like, I wasn't shocked at all. Anyway, this book was written by Tommy Lee. It's an autobiography. He has some help with Anthony Boza. Also, I think both of his ex-wives, definitely Pamela Anderson. Most interesting piece is about the sex tape scandal and how they were robbed. That's in here. That's really interesting. Clips from their actual depositions from that case are in here. They were deemed newsworthy figures, and because they were both newsworthy figures, the courts decided that the public had a right to their sex tape. And the dude that stole the sex tape, the hotel chains that sold it, and the people who published it, like that published the videos and DVDs and stuff, made $77 million of just profit because there were no production costs, there was no actors fees. So that was garbage. Tommy Lee's not a good dude. He may be now, I don't know. I don't follow Motley Crue that closely. I don't follow Tommy Lee that closely. Again, I read it because Sebastian Stan's playing Tommy Lee. And I want to do a Sebastian Stan video like my Chris Evans video. It was really interesting though. Like, Tommy Lee's a real interesting dude. If you want to buy it and you don't want to support Tommy Lee, buy it secondhand. And none of those things trigger you. He is still really good friends with both of his ex-wives. This book was really interesting. I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 stars. It was really good. Aside from the words that I didn't like. If you can get past it and you want to learn about rock stars, I highly recommend it. So, and if you've not seen Sebastian Stan as Tommy Lee or Lily James as Pamela Anderson, I'll insert a Sebastian Stan picture because everyone needs to see it, number one. But like, I love him. He's so hot. Okay, we're not gonna talk about it anymore. So next, I actually listened to a trilogy. I listened to it over the course of 2 days, and that is the Wicked Trilogy by Piper Lawson. Don't know where I found it. I was on a rock star kick, if anyone could tell. I finished Tommyland on like Sunday, and I listened to these 3 books on Monday and Tuesday. So rock stars were a big thing for me this month. So the Wicked Trilogy is made up of Good Girl, Bad Girl, and Wicked Girl. Trigger warning for Good Girl before I begin giving you like a brief synopsis. There is an attempted sexual assault of our main heroine in this book. If that triggers you, please don't read it. It's on page, nothing terrible happens, but again, like I said, I've said it before. If you've not seen my videos where I say it, I'll say it again. I would hate to think that someone read a book that I recommended and got triggered because I forgot to tell them something. It is attempted. She does get away before anything crazy happens, so read at your own risk. So the Wicked Trilogy follows Haley and Jax Jameson. Jax Jameson is the resident hot guy for the band Riot Act. I believe he's the lead singer, but I'm not sure. Haley ends up getting an internship at Wicked, which is a record label that Jax is part of. Jax tries to get her fired. Haley ends up going on their tour for a month to get her college credit. Jax is so sweet. You get to watch their relationship build, and that is adorable. Jax has been keeping a couple secrets, and he had to keep, the big one, the secret that was the issue, he had to keep. It wasn't something he could tell. And Haley gets really upset because he didn't tell her, and he knew this secret, so she left and didn't tell him goodbye. And that's where book 2 picks up. It's a couple months later. Haley has to go back to Wicked, so she goes to college, and she finds out that her internship credits never got turned in because she left the tour too early. So she goes to the guy who runs Wicked, And he's like, okay, I'll help you. We'll fix it. And then he screws it up again. There are so many plot twists in book 2. Everyone has a secret, but none of the secrets are like relationship ending secrets. So you can taste the HEA. It is right there. And then Piper Lawson jerks that rug out from under you, and you don't get it. It did set up book 3 perfectly though, and I usually have an issue with time jumps, but in this case I was okay with it, because book 3, which is Wicked Girl, book 2 is Bad Girl. I don't remember if I said it. If I did, you got it again. Book 3 is Wicked Girl, and you finally get the HEA. There was a pregnancy storyline, so I don't have any trigger warnings written down for book 2, but book 3 there's a trigger warning for miscarriage. Again, I say it all the time. If that's something that bothers you, I know people personally who I don't think could read books that had that storyline in them. I like to make sure that trigger warning is in there for people who would have a hard time with it. It's not on page. It's just discussed in passing. So do with that information what you will. If you don't read books with that in it, please don't do it on my account. I loved this trilogy. I think they each got at least 4 stars. I would give the whole trilogy overall 4 stars for sure. But otherwise this book was great. These books were really good and I really enjoyed them. Again, if any of these things trigger you, please don't read them. You will not hurt my feelings if you don't read books that I recommend, because there are trigger warnings. Because of my trigger warnings, I don't want anyone to walk into a book blind and be like, oh well, Megan really liked this book. Don't do that on my behalf, please, please. Then I read Lucas by Carrie and Cole. Okay, I didn't know this was book 3 in the Ashes and Embers series until I had already started reading it, and I will tell you, I looked into it after I started reading it. You do not need to read the first 2 books. You do not read the first 2 books. You can read them in any order apparently, because Lucas read well as a standalone. So trigger warning in this one for cheating. I know there are some people who won't read books that have cheating in them. Our main characters are not cheating. So Ivy is a 36-year-old. It's our 36-year-old heroine. She's our 36-year-old main character. You think she's on the phone with her husband when the book opens. Like, quite literally, it's the first thing you read. And then you find out that he's on the phone with his mistress. So she goes and she talks to him and she's like, I want a divorce. We're not doing this. We're not playing this game. And he's like, I still love you, but I just love her. And it's so different with her because she's 22 and she doesn't have kids and we had kids. And so I can go play house with her without our kids while you're here taking care of them. And I've been sleeping with her for a year. I wanted to punch Paul in the throat so hard it wasn't even funny. And I'm proud of Lucas for not doing it. But I would have done it. I'd have decked him. So Ivy's ex-husband, Paul, had spent their entire marriage being like, you can't do that. Don't dye your hair. That's a waste of money. You don't need a tattoo. Why would you get a tattoo? So Ivy's best friend is like, you know what we're going to do? You're going to do everything he told you couldn't do. So she had won, Ivy's best friend had won a gift certificate to get a tattoo by Lucas. And she's like, take this. Please take this. Please go get a tattoo. So Ivy does. Ivy goes and she gets a tattoo by Lucas. It's not insta love. It's instant attraction, but it's not instant love. He doesn't look at her and like, oh my God, I'm in love with you. But he knows there's something there. And she does too. Like they talk about the spark, but they're both like, this isn't love. We're not in love. Okay. It's great. I literally looked at my mom 36 pages in and I said, I have book butterflies. You have to read this book. Because my mom was reading beside me. So sweet. I love this book. Lucas is the sweetest. Oh my God. He like clears his schedule to fix a roof that Ivy mentioned in passing for like 30 seconds. Clears his schedule on a Saturday. He was booked out so he could go to her house and fix the roof that she was having issues with. That was just missing a couple shingles. It didn't take him 30 minutes to do it, but he cleared his entire day to do that for her. Oh my God, I loved him. Plot twist in the book with Ivy's daughter. I don't know how you can do that to your mother and not for what she got out of it. My mom is one of my very best friends in the world. I could not imagine hurting her. And I don't know how Macy did it. And I hate Paul, but we've already talked about that. So, Lucas, I think I gave it 4.5. Just because I really struggled with the Macy part of the plot. I understood it, but I didn't like it. So I docked it half a star. But like, seriously, read that book. It's great. Then I read Bulky by Jessica Kane. This follows Josie and Gunnar. I did read this book because Bree talks about it a ton. Josie is best friends with Gunnar's son Paul, has been since they were 12. Josie is finally 18. Her dad has run out of money. And I actually I didn't physically read this book. I read it on my Kindle. I read it digitally. She had a crush on Gunnar since she was 12. Josie decides, I'm going to get Gunnar, essentially. So she decides to be a sugar baby. There's this whole thing. I am here for I have no issues with age gaps. I have no issues with daddy kinks. Have your kink, man. I got no room to judge. You know what I have an issue with? The last chapter of this book, I have an issue with. Jessica Kane, you had me until the end of chapter 9. Until the end of chapter 9. You had me until the very end. I can't get behind planning a wedding without the other person's consent. I cannot do it. There's a Hallmark movie my mom loves that has the same premise to it at the end of the movie, and I watched it once with her, and I said, no. No. That is not consensual. That is manipulative, and I don't like it. And I like Gunnar. Gunnar's a good dude. I didn't like any of this. I was not here for any of this. So, that's all I'm saying. It literally knocked it from like a 5-star to a 3 for me. Just that end. I hated it. I hated it. I'm not a fan. This next book that I want to talk about is Book Boyfriend by Claire Kingsley. Claire Kingsley's partner, I believe it was a husband, but I'm going to say partner. Claire Kingsley's partner tragically passed away this past week. And I actually read this book right before that happened, like right before that came out. Book Twitter and Bookstagram were sharing her like this. I have it saved. I sent it to my mom. I'll put it here. But it is a picture of her, all of her works, so people can go read it and help support her and her family. And I think that is a fantastic thing to do. I do plan on reading more Claire Kingsley because I really enjoyed Book Boyfriend. It was a really, really cute book. Alex is our hero. He is trying to be a writer. He wants to write a sci-fi novel. His sister convinces him to write a romance book and tells him, you know, how much romance is read, and like gives him all these stats about it. And she's like, just try to write it. Like, worst case scenario, it doesn't work out. He ends up writing like 7. He quits his day job. He's taking care of his sick dad with his money. Like, he is pumping out books left, right, and center. And with Lexi, his female pen name, he creates this online world with Lexi, and he meets Bookworm Babe, who has a blog where she reviews books, but nobody knows who Bookworm Babe is. But we find out that it's Mia, the love interest in the book. So Alex decides there's a romance book signing at a local bookstore. He decides he's gonna go check it out, just see what it's like, because he's not doing those. He signs books and like sends them out, but he doesn't do book signings because no one knows it's a guy writing romance books. Everyone thinks it's Lexi. No one knows it's Alex. He literally bumps into Mia, or Mia literally bumps into him, and he takes her books and he buys them for her. He buys her books. I loved it. I loved this. It was so sweet. He ends up figuring out before Mia that she's Bookworm Babe and that he's Lexi. He figures it out first and he doesn't tell her. That goes about how you think it would. I mean, it was so cute. I think I gave it 5 stars. If not, definitely 4. I seriously, I highly recommend this book. I immediately texted my mom. I was about halfway through it and I was like, you need to listen to this, and I sent her the link. I listened to it on Scribd. I did find out, and correct me if I'm wrong, I got this from Scribd's website. I don't know if these terms have changed. I looked that up this week though, and Scribd pays their authors like full price for their works when you listen to it or when you read it through Scribd. So I don't know how Kindle does it. I don't know how any of the other, I don't know how the library books do it. But I do know that at least Book Boyfriend is on KU if you want to read it or listen to it. I think it's on Audible too. Don't hold me to that. I listened to it, like I said, on Scribd. I recommend this book. It's really cute, and seriously, please consider picking up a Claire Kingsley. If, you know, her partner, I believe they had 2 strokes, and I know what that's like to lose someone quickly after having a stroke, so it's a special place in my heart, and I will do whatever I can to help. So I do plan on reading some more Claire Kingsley very soon. Let's talk about my favorite author though. Let's get off that topic. Let's talk about my favorite author. Let's talk about Katie Robert. I read a Katie Robert. Are we surprised? We should not be surprised. There is not a soul that has ever seen my channel that should be surprised that I read a Katie Robert book. I read Falling for His Best Friend. This is in the Out of Uniform series or something like that. Avery has decided she's going to have a baby. Her mom passed away of ovarian cancer when she was young, and her sister both got tested to see if they had the cancer markers, and they did. So she decides she's going to have a baby and she's going to have a hysterectomy because she wants to be a mom. So she goes to the bar. She tells her 3 best friends, who is Drew. I don't remember Drew's brother's name. And I don't remember Drew's brother's wife's name. We should not be shocked. Just not be surprised. So she tells them, I'm going to have a baby by artificial insemination or IVF if insemination doesn't work. And then I'm going to have a hysterectomy because my cancer markers came back. I have cancer markers and I don't want to go through what my mom went through. I'm going to take the preventative measures that my sister took to ensure this doesn't happen. Drew loses his mind and he decides that he's going to be the baby daddy. He says to her, essentially, you're not going to do this way. We're going to have a baby. So she takes him to the fertility clinic, and he says, I'm not doing this in a cup. We're going to do this the right way. There is so much sex in this book, guys. It's Katie Robert. It's smut, and it was so good. It was so good. I love Katie Robert. He also wants to do this so that he can help her through the pregnancy, so he can be there for financial support should she need it. He wants to help her. Drew has spent his whole life just wanting to help Avery. Drew and Avery made a pact, you know, no feelings involved, blah, blah, blah. You know how that goes. Feelings got involved. There's an HEA, and I just love Katie Robert. This was a 5-star? I gotta start taking better notes. If it wasn't 5, it was definitely 4. 4.5. Definitely 4.5. But I'm pretty sure it was 5. I'm giving it a 5 now if I didn't before. Thinking back on it. Let's talk about this book. I tweeted about this book. You guys know, if you follow me on Twitter, I try to read MMA books, MMA romance books, because I'm a big fan of the UFC. I wouldn't say I'm a big fan of the president of the UFC, but I'm a big fan of the sport of MMA. I've learned a lot over the last couple years just watching it, and I'm a big nerd when it comes to the UFC. I can't help it. It's who I am as a person. Typically these books don't get things right. Until You're Mine by Cindy Madsen. Cindy either knows something about this, watches MMA religiously, or actually did her research, because this book was fantastic. From an MMA standpoint, I really enjoyed this book. From a UFC nerd standpoint, I really liked this book. Brooklyn grew up in an MMA gym. Her dad was an MMA fighter. Her brothers are MMA fighters, and they run an MMA gym called Team Domination. Okay. Shane used to be a fighter. He was getting ready to get a title shot when his adoptive mom was diagnosed with cancer, and he stepped away to take care of her. And so he's trying to come back in MMA and like work his way back up. One of the few issues I found with this book, and honestly it's something I can push past, because the rest of the book was fairly accurate, was that he said the MMA rankings had him in a certain level, and in the MMA world each individual organization has their own ranking system. So like the UFC, if you're ranked number 3 in the UFC, that doesn't necessarily mean you're ranked number 3 across the sport. You're just ranked number 3 in that organization. Shane and Brooklyn are basically told to stay away from each other. Brooklyn says she'll never date another fighter. She had a really, really bad relationship with one, and she doesn't trust the fighters anymore in terms of relationships. Oh, but they fell in love. I love it. And what I loved most about this book, I don't think I talked about it. I don't remember the name of it, but there was another MMA book that I read that was really good. I read it earlier this year. I think I read it in January. And that girl did not want to be part of the MMA world. She didn't want to go to UFC fights every Saturday, and that's my dream. I said it in that video. I would love to live that life. Brooklyn's okay with it. They separate because of their dreams, and for once the guy follows the girl. He'd asked her to give up her dream, and she was like, that's it. Like, I can't do that. I'm not doing that for somebody else. I'm not doing it for you. I'm gonna go live my dream. He has his fight, and he follows her, and my heart melted. There was an HEA. 5 stars. I loved it. It was great. This book was amazing, and thank you, Cindy Madsen, for at least doing your research if you don't watch MMA or the UFC. There's more than the UFC. There's more organizations than the UFC, but that's the one that I'm the most knowledgeable of. All the rules are different across the board. There are smaller fight leagues, and then there's like the UFC and Bellator and like PFL, like the big ones. So yeah. I loved this book. If you like MMA and you're looking for an MMA romance book, I recommend this so much. This book was amazing. I loved it. I listened to it on audio, and I didn't like the audiobook, but I liked the plot of the story, so I did end up downloading it from Scribd, and I read it digitally, and it was great. I loved it. Okay, this is it. This is the last book, and I saved my favorite book of the month for last, because this was a recommendation from Izzy, and she said the magic words. She said the magic words, which was Brother's Best Friend. If you don't know, Tamika has a video on her channel that she did for me last summer with a bunch of Brother's Best Friend romance recommendations in it, and I watched Izzy's beginner's dark romance recommendation video. It's essentially what it is like soft dark romance, like light dark romance, and she recommended Twisted Love by Anna Huang. Oh my god, when I tell you, I did not put my Kindle down. I did not put my Kindle down. Like, I think I got halfway through, I put it down to go take a shower, and then I stayed up till 2 a.m. finishing the book because I could not stop it. I knew I had to finish it. I messaged Izzy after she said it, and I said, I have never grabbed my Kindle as quickly as I did when you said Brother's Best Friend dark romance. Alex Volkov. Izzy called it a grumpy sunshine, and I can see that, but I think it is more accurate the way Alex described it, which is darkness and light. Alex compares his relationship with Ava to them being darkness and light, Alex being darkness, Ava being light. He calls her sunshine constantly. Ava is very happy, loving, and trusting of others, and Alex trusts absolutely nobody. So when Ava's brother moves across the world for he has to do something for medical school, he asks Alex to take care of her, and Alex ends up moving in next door to her. Alex Volkov, I literally wrote, Alex Volkov stole my heart, and I do not want it back. He quite literally threatened to kill someone for touching her and asked if she was lying to protect her friend. I loved this book, you guys. This is my favorite book of the month. If not 2021 at this moment. This book was amazing. There are so many plot twists. He is so protective. There are so many things that end up happening that I didn't expect. And I feel like sometimes with books like this, they're a little predictable, especially Brother's Best Friend. But this one was not at all. Alex was just amazing. So Alex is Russian. But I got if you've watched Knives Out, I kind of got Ransom Drysdale vibes out of it. But like, dark Ransom Drysdale. Am I relating somebody back to Chris Evans? We shouldn't be surprised. We shouldn't. We should not be shocked. We're not surprised when it turns back to the Marvel Man. But it was just the way, this is the way I would imagine if Ransom actually like knew how to love someone, this is how it would be. If you've watched this movie, I've read a lot of fan fiction this month too, so please forgive me. But I can't recommend this book enough. I've told Tamika she has to read it. Izzy told Tamika she has to read it, and Tamika's mad at both of us because we keep telling her she has to read it. This book was so good. I cannot wait for the second book in the series. 30 out of 10. If I could give this book 6 stars, I think I would. I loved it. It was so good. Alex and Ava, man, I was not expecting what I got out of this book. It was amazing. Until next time, like I said, just take care of yourself and keep reading, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye.